Welcome back. Welcome way back. We're back. We are up to the F's. A, B, C, D, E, F. So that makes me, by my official back of the mental envelope calculation, 19.2% done with this whole thing. 19.2% done and nailed them all. I'm thinking about having a contest where whoever bets, you can bet that I'll get one wrong, or you can just bet that I'll never get any wrong, and I'll just give it like 50-50 odds or whatever, and I'll just get a ring going because you'd think that 270 some questions I'd get one wrong, but I'm on a roll. I am on a freaking roll. I'm just the vessel. I'm just a vessel. Okay. Next we have Christine Finn, who's an archaeologist, journalist, and author of Artifacts and Past Poetics. So I think that's two separate books, I believe. Yes. She's a journalist, author of Artifacts and author of Past Poetic. Oh, it gives me life. Christine Finn's last question is there a place for our past in our future? So I don't know exactly what she means by that, but I'm going to take a swing at it because that's what I do here. That's what I do. I'm going to interpret that question as to mean it's an open question on whether humanity is going to kind of progress to a state that isn't bounded by its biological roots and its we're evolved biological Darwinistic creatures, but we figured that out. So, are we going to get past that? And if we get past that, is it possible to do that and still hang on to our biological roots? Does that even make sense that we could, still have the blueprint of our lowly origin, still have the blueprint of nature red in tooth and claw, but be able to rise beyond that. It almost just seems like we've got to change the source code or something to get past that, which of course sounds like, what the fuck am I talking about? We came from dust, but I don't think we end in dust. This is like the ultimate dust. It's the dust that is the stratified information that is the structure of the universe. Yeah. Is there a past? Is there a place for our past and our future? I kind of feel like, how much are we going to have to break away, or how much are we able to break away, or how much should we be breaking away from the from our origins to get to some other place? That's the big freaking question. Part of it, and it's being answered for us in a way. Because there's not a lot of speed limits that there's the speed limit is kind of biological and biological speed limit is the speed limit, and also there are some certain cultural institutions that are trying to slow us down or pull us back, but they're not necessarily wrong. It's not just a decidedly answered question that we have to go forward. It isn't decided, but it's it's being decided either way. So, Christine Finn. That's a good question, especially if it's related to the question I'm asking. Let's hope so. Or hope not. Imagine if we could just get better, get happier, get more fulfilled, get all this stuff, and we all at the low price of just kind of forgetting our biology because it was necessary to get to this advanced whatever it is. Maybe that's the price you pay to reach a new level, is you kind of just gotta like bury the past. Maybe maybe I need to go watch The Last Jedi again. Let the past die. Oof. I've got indigestion now. So yeah, let's. That's a big question, and what are the what are the artifacts going to be of if they dig up artifacts from this age, because it's going to be nothing's going to be literal. Everything's stored digitally, so unless you've got digital artifactory, suppose you get advanced, you have to have digital artifactory, just like you'd have digging through the soil, you're digging through the operating systems. That's a whole new freaking industry. Well, there you go. I invented a new industry. Woohoo! Okay. So, very interesting question, Christine Finn. And I can't say that yes or no to your answer, but I can say it is being played out in real time, and I don't even think we're that aware of it. So we won't find out. Very good. Next question comes from Stuart Firestein, who's professor and chair Department of Biological Sciences, Columbia University. They have a fantastic hockey team. And he's a fellow at the American Association for the Advancement of Science, I think. Yeah, AAAS. Stuart Feinstein's last question is, how many incommensurable ideas can we hold in our minds simultaneously? 3.14759. How many incommensurable ideas can we hold in our minds simultaneously? I'm going to struggle because I may not know incommensurable. I want to say it means like unquantifiable, but that's not right. Incommensurable. Does this one have to cheat? Just make sure I have a freaking word. I'm not going to cheat because I can't look up anything because then I just got to take it, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. I've never cheated. I can't cheat by looking shit up. If I don't know what the freaking word means, I gotta make it make sense. How many incommensurable ideas can we hold in our mind simultaneously? Well, if I even take out the word incommensurable, because I'm not sure, how many ideas can we hold in our mind simultaneously? That's already a big question. But let's see if we can add in the word in a proper context. Incommensurable. Unquantifiable, unidentifiable, in comments. Comments is not that's not the root of that. Commensurable, exchangeable, unique, whatever. Well, you know, screw it. I'm gonna get rid of incommensurable and just take ideas, because even that question is difficult. How many ideas can we hold in our head simultaneously? Well, let's just say that there probably has to be a limit, because I don't want to start dealing with infinities, because infinities is just crazy ass whatever. So we got a limited brain that has limited storage, just like a PC or whatever the heck. So it may be very great, but that makes it limited, even if the number of ideas were unlimited. And I'm not going to deal with that, so just say ideas are limited too. But they're probably greater than the ideas that we can hold in our head, because the limiting factor would be the memory for the ideas, because ideas seem like they can be, ideas are almost like mathematical constructs, which could in many cases take place on a fractal level, so you can just see them at many different levels of ideation or whatever. So I feel like ideas is more granular and more of a big number than the storage in our mind. So that's going to run out first. The storage in our mind is going to run out first. But also, the mind simultaneously. So that means how much stuff can we give our attention to at the same time? Well, that imposes an entirely new set of constraints. Because at that moment, we maybe almost be limited by a mental wiring that's been around for a long time. I mean, we're probably not built to be able to think of 19 things. I mean, for most of the time that we've been of this physical form, probably our minds were having one or less ideas in our minds simultaneously. I mean, at least at some point, and it probably lasted for that time that we would call the emotional age or whatever, when it was just like the only thing that was going through it was kind of that buzz of emotions. That might have lasted a while. So we're not built probably to be able to think about a ton of stuff at the same time. We're just not built that way. And so that kind of what follows from that is that that will always make us ripe for bias. No matter what other things you do, because whatever your your particular subset of ideas, your particular subset of whatever that has your attention is its own form of bias. It isn't like purposeful, you suck, I'm not going to listen to it. It's not that type of bias. It's just, it's in the base kind of, I'm going to feel it more when my heart hurts. I'm going to feel this more than that. So how many incommensurable ideas? How many ideas can we hold in our minds simultaneously? Probably not that many, because that's not what was needed in the past. And at least if there's more than, if you can get really concerned about more than one or two things, then it seems like there has to be a consciousness has got to have this Maslow's whatever hierarchy of just like, okay, if one of these things happen, then that totally dominates your thing, and otherwise you can have 3 things you're thinking about at this level, or maybe 14 things at the barely conscious level. But it doesn't make sense if you could just be thinking about 15 things and all give them equal weight. Like, oh, I'll go to this, I'll go to this, I'll go to this, I'll go to this. It's just like we're not designed to be that way, but we're designed to be human. We're designed to have a goal and a purpose and to try and get somewhere, and to be concerned and to be feeling the things that don't get us going in that direction. And I don't think you would be able to design anything interesting in the terms of like robots that didn't also have some type of hierarchy of a value system of like what they're more concerned about versus what they're less concerned about. I don't even think it makes sense. So, Stuart Feinstein, your question of how many incommensurable ideas can we hold in our minds simultaneously, the answer is 3.75. Anything more than that, and we just gonna can't do it. It's you're sliding down the pyramid of attentional. You're below sea level then, and so there's only so many things you can worry about. One of them is ice cream. Okay, next one. The next one is from Helen Fisher, who is a biological anthropologist at Rutgers University and a phenomenal lacrosse team. Author of Why Him, Why Her? How to Find and Keep Lasting Relationships? Love. Okay. Helen Fisher's last question is, what will courtship, mate selection, length of marriages, and family composition and networks be like when we are all living over 150 years? Well, I'm going to answer it coming around from the. I'm going to flank this question, come around at it from the side, and I will just say that while I will try to answer this question, I will say that it's my inkling of thought, although I'm almost certain to be wrong, but wrong in a very beautiful way. That when we are living 150 years old, the questions that she's asking here are going to be less interesting than other questions, or less vital ways to describe the differences between how humans are now and how they would be then, than than where we've gone with technology. Because I could be very wrong about this, but I feel like if we get to start living 150 years, we're not going to do it where the last 50 years we're just on a, we're comatose but alive. I mean, it'll have to be, fairly healthy, productive 150 years, or it's not going to be worth it. So I think the technology is going to be so crazy that we'll have been on a ride, going for rides, creating rides, with technology that are going to blow the doors off the fact that we live 150 years, and the fact that, okay, courtship may, the idea of a lifelong partner, maybe that may go by the wayside. I mean, everything could go by the wayside. I mean, it could get crazy. I mean, if we're living 150 years, who's to say that there aren't like artificial wombs that you can use in 150 years, and you won't. Women won't have to gestate. You could just grow it in a womb. I know that sounds freaking crazy, but that doesn't seem out of the. If we're talking about living 150 years, it seems like being able to grow a baby outside of a womb. Ain't that tough? Just a little Jello and a little Beethoven. That's all you need. So, courtship, mate selection, length of marriages, family composition, and when she says networks, I'm assuming she means family networks, like your extended family and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all that could potentially change. I can imagine just having like still having like the biological thing, like having a biological partner, but also having just like other partners or whatever that are, emotionally just as important or just not biological. I mean, kind of have that already today a little bit, right? But also, I'm going to argue with myself and say I repudiate every word I've said for the past 7 minutes, because as long as there still is that biological thing that male female, even if the physical bond of having a child together, if that custom was modified to, going to the baby store, pick up your baby. Oh, looks like us. Even then, the rules of the evolutionary game would still be in play. So, I don't know. Everything changes once we get in the cloud. Once we get in the cloud, then 150 years doesn't matter, because we're in the cloud forever. Maybe. But certainly courtship, mate selection, all that stuff would change. I mean, how could you're going to marry somebody at 23 and it's like till death do me part at 126 years? It's like, I don't think so. Yeah. I don't even think we should be making a freaking a head fake towards that idea. So Helen Fisher, the answer to what will courtship, mate selection, length of marriages, and family composition and networks be like when we're all living over 150 years? I will say 18% more like ants. Yeah. Study your ant networks and your ant relationships. Will be 18% more like that. All right, next. Whoa. Next, we have Steve Fuller. Steve is a philosopher, the Auguste Comte Chair in Social Epistemology, University of Warwick, author of the Proactionary Imperative, a Foundation for Transhumanism. Well, there you go. There you absolutely go. Hang on here. Technical difficulties. I'm not smart. I'm not a smart person. Did we just lose? This is just... Oh. What the flying shit? Hello. We're back. We are back with Steve Fuller, who is a philosopher, Auguste Comte Chair in Social Epistemology, University of Warwick, and author of the Proactionary Imperative, a Foundation for Transhumanism. It's like we were just talking about that the very last question. It's almost like there's 273 or whatever questions, but there's only like 19 flavors. Can we design so you think, okay, if that's the case, then I got 14, 15, and don't ask me to do math, different chances at doing every one of the questions, so I should have this down by the end. I mean, I already have it down, of course. But you know what I'm saying. Steve Fuller's last question is, can we design a common test to assess machine, animal, and human intelligence? I mean, what's the closest we have to assess human intelligence? Okay, so we've got the most standard thing we have, the IQ test, and can't even get people to agree that measures intelligence. They don't even, and if they say intelligence, then it's just like, well, what the hell does intelligence mean? And that's just for humans. I also don't know that intelligence is necessarily that. How do you measure certain types of genius which can't just be measured in intelligence? Or if you're including intelligence to be able to measure that kind of stuff too, then I don't know what the hell you're calling intelligence. Great skill, craftsmanship, passion. There's so many things that are much more interesting to look for and to find than just intelligence. But anyway, can we design a common test to assess it? I think you kind of have to. I think the problem that we're having, even in humans, in designing a test to kind of quantitatively measure intelligence, I think the problems we're having aren't just socio-political. I think they are, or inadequate science. I think there's something about intelligence that is also context dependent, or depending on what your environment is and what you're needing to learn and what you're needing to do, that I don't think a universal intelligence if something was able to find the answer to what is it, Fermat's last theorem or whatever, Fermat, I don't know, or who was the Andrew Weil? It doesn't matter. Some complicated mathematical truth. Is that a common, like if intelligence was to rise to a certain level from any area, would it just get to that point? Is that a milestone in the intelligence? I don't think so. I don't think that makes sense. I think that's a species of a more general thing. But the more general thing is not reducible. It's like you only find it in its fruits. It's only when it's manifested can you like make translations. I don't know. I don't know. It's you could also look at it like so if you're writing an IQ, I mean, I'm just going to keep using the IQ test example because it's just on my head and whatever. But it works against itself right here. So if you are writing an IQ test, you can't write an IQ test for people that are smarter than you. So, if you're writing an IQ test for people that have IQs of 130, then you need to have an IQ of 135 or more, whatever. But you can't. You can only write for people that you're smarter than or whatever. So maybe it kind of works that way because that you could maybe design a common intelligence test between machine, animal, and human, but it could only work up to the point of the least intelligent one of those. Like you couldn't design a test that would measure anything that all three didn't have in common. So even if it's objective, it will vary, and your scale would only go up to the down to the least common denominator. So I think that actually might make sense. If you could. Because otherwise it would have to be, you'd have to just know the most intelligent thing something could be. And how could you know the most intelligent thing something could be unless you had all the intelligence? Even a big test like that has to be grounded provincially somehow. Otherwise, you start getting into like knowing everything, and that's. Once you start putting those conditions in, you just might as well be talking about Candyland philosophically. So yeah, only if the answer to your question, Steve Fuller, is if we could, it would be the level at which you could test would be limited by the least intelligent on the scale of the three, would limit who we could test. Interesting question. Thank you, sir. Kia Sorrento. You piece of I'm very good. I'm very smart. Gosh darn it. People like me. Oh, crikely dikely, dude. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The hell is this? Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Ah, crikey. Yeah. No. Blah, blah, blah. Hi. Wee. This is ridiculous. Ah. Oh. Ah. I freaking remember. This is enjoyable for all too much. Wow. Pretty good. I'm pretty good. Christ. Okay, whatever. Something like that. Something like that. Where'd my... Oh, where'd it go? Where'd you go? You lousy. Ugh. You know, this is... I'm not gonna lie. This is very cool. This is ridiculous. This is the worst thing ever. Okay. Oh, this is what it was. Okay. This is so cool. I want to do this every day. Well. Our next question comes from Howard Gardner. I've heard of Howard Gardner before. Howard Gardner is the Hobbs Professor of Cognition and Education at Harvard Graduate School of Education and the author of Truth, Beauty, and Goodness Reframed. Okay. Howard Gardner's last question is, will the third culture be followed by a fourth culture, a fifth culture, and ominously a final culture? I want to say very likely, and I'm wondering just on a speed level whether they might come quicker than we could possibly imagine. You know, we've been shaped culturally largely, I think, by our biology and by our, you know, we are primates, we're animals, we are 2 hairs removed from a baboon, as Lewis Black would say, but we have been constrained by our biology, and for most of our growing up, we've been blind about our biology. We didn't even know that this is what we were. We didn't know what our condition really was. We're starting to know that. We're starting to be able to come to grips with it, change it, play with it, and it's starting to become less as important factor in our lives because of what technology is doing. Right now, it's just rather parasitic on biology, but it may take dominance over biological concerns and ways of thinking. And if that's the case, that would make culture able to adapt, speciate in much faster ways because it isn't bound to specific kind of like reproduction cycles that also are biological in nature. So, third, fourth, fifth, yes, probably quicker, probably more speciation based on temporally as opposed to just geographically. I'm not sure what I mean by that. And ominously a final culture. Yeah. That one's harder to answer. Well, I mean, in one way you can just say yes, just because otherwise there'd be what, an infinity of cultures. If we eventually become extinct, there has to be something that you would call the final culture, whether it was the sixth culture of the 38 millionth. But that's not a very good answer. But it might be good enough to call it good. So I'm 47 in a row. You can also think of culture as like localized. I feel like culture, kind of by definition, has to be localized. So, because as you can say, well, yeah, they like cowboy boots over there, but you can't say it in relation to somebody else that doesn't like cowboy boots. You'll never realize that wearing cowboy boots is a cultural thing. You'll just, well, yeah, that's what people wear these because that's what people wear. It's only when you can compare it with something else that you can call it a culture. You got to be able to step outside it somehow to be able to realize that it's culture. It's like, oh, you know, fish don't know about water till they're not in it. So, if we are headed for the unipolar singleton or whatever the heck you want to call it, if we're headed for the great that's the damn phrase. You know what I'm talking about. Singularity. Yes, that's the word. If we're headed for that, then maybe we lose differentiation to the point where we can't compare. There's no localization of variable traits. I put it in I don't know, in a very dry way, but maybe everything becoming one means culture disappears. Does that mean everybody wears cowboy boots or nobody wears cowboy boots? So, Howard Gardner, the answer to your question, will the third culture be followed by a fourth, fifth, and honestly a final culture, is yes to the first part, and probably increasingly quickly, and but temporal difference between become the playground instead of geographic differences, and 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 we get more speciation, and our virtualization technologies and augmented reality technologies and virtual reality technologies will spur entire new ways of cultural expression and cultural differentiation. Just this will be the freaking Cambrian explosion of mental. The whole freaking landscape's gonna open up like the freaking Cambrian explosion. That's what having a virtual reality is going to be in terms of in terms of, wow, it's a whole new freaking, yeah. It is like an entirely new dimension of reality is what we're gonna get with it's gonna frickin' it's a whole new thing to just open up and poof. So yeah, get ready for the next get ready for weird looking fish thingies that have 9 legs, and it's going to open up a whole new what's the intellectual archaeological dig for the next 1,000 years going to look like. Okay, so anyway, answer. Thank you, Howard Gardner. I'll try one more. Hey, it worked. I didn't screw it up this time. Next question is from David C. Geary, who's a curator's professor, Department of Psychological Scientists. Try it again. The next question is from David C. Geary, who's a curator's professor, Department of Psychological Sciences at the University of Missouri Columbia. David C. Geary's last question is there a single evolved biological mechanism that can be tweaked to improve overall health, cognitive abilities, and slow aging? Evolved biological mechanism. So you're is there a universal telomere? Is there a well, overall health? That's hiding a lot of complexity. But we'll just say cognitive physical adaptation to your environment at whatever age you're at. Let's just say adult, blah, blah, blah. You're in good shape for where you should be right now. And tweaking it has made you better. Okay, cognitive abilities. What the fuck are, I mean, like cognitive abilities are all the same, or they're not like levers where you get one and you don't get the other one. You get openness. How do you get organization? If you're super open, it's hard to be organized. If you're super organized, it's hard to make. You're not good at metaphor. Okay. Go past that. Improve that. Improve cognitive abilities and slow aging. I think you're looking at things that are, you lousy piece of crap. I think you're looking at things here that are almost could be fighting against each other. So it's very likely that they have um, one lever. Although, I mean, if I wanted to get pedantic, I could say like, hey, getting enough iron and getting proper diet and all that stuff would probably help with all of that. I wonder if a certain type of intermittent fasting might actually be something that could at least help all of those things. And I don't think this is necessarily what he's looking for, but maybe it does. If this was true, could intermittent fasting, well, I think he's looking for something that's more of a like a genetics tweak or a hormonal tweak or something. But let's just take fasting, improve overall health. There's evidence that intermittent fasting can improve overall health. I could imagine that you could use intermittent fasting to improve cognitive abilities, because if you're telling your system, your brain or something, that at least at certain times that you're hungry, which is telling the brain, okay, need to figure something out. Like your brain has to probably goes in different modes based on how it's feeling. And so you may just be able to kind of map that out as to how you want to be able to think, even along that kind of ride of being hungry versus not hungry, and how your brain reacts to that. Because maybe if you're somewhat hungry, that's like the optimum, because then your brain is alive to new possibility. So it's like maybe when you're just full, like you want to sleep and your brain just doesn't work, and so it could have, yeah, anyway, you get where I'm going. You get the cut of my jib. And slow aging, I think it definitely could slow aging, because then you're not in the super hormone burning method of being where you are when you're reproductive, where your hormones are just freaking going left and right, because your body is looking at the environment and saying, okay, time to mate now, I need to mate now, and just burning through shit. And I don't know how much you're going to tweak it. You'd have to figure out, maybe you tweak the recipe a little bit for intermittent fasting based on a person's biology and how they deal with it and all that kind of stuff, and their past experiences with it and stuff. But that is something that actually potentially could be tweaked to improve all of those things. If you're looking for something that's a little more Star Trek, a little more I feel like almost like if you're, it's fighting against you. There's a way that overall health could slow aging, but there's a way that always being in very good health might not slow your aging. Like, you got to kind of go into bad health, or at least do things which aren't maybe as healthy for you, to be able to tell your body, okay, stop aging. So other things besides that, I'm not sure if improve cognitive abilities. Other things I think are probably, it's too easy to make things work against each other, because these are kind of like, I feel like they're not all the same lever. So if you hormonally do something to improve your cognitive abilities, like that seems like it might just be like you're able to think of more shit, but it's also stressing your brain because you've got more frickin' network going on and you're wearing out the plumbing. So how is that is that an improvement on health if you're working something much harder? Is it I mean, I think there's a lot of things in there that are potentially going to be fighting each other. So I think it's almost like it's more of a balance, and you can't. It's things you have to weigh, and you won't be able to kind of universally improve all of them. Like you'll be able to improve all of them, but it's by like kind of raising this one with this mechanism and then this one with this mechanism and making sure they don't kind of conflict. And you got to build it. You can't just lever it. It's got to be architected. Except for maybe intermittent fasting. Maybe that helps all of them. That's kind of a log cabin or a Stone Age approach to it rather than frickin' lasers. But maybe that's something. So there's your question. There's your answer, David Geary. Thank you for the question. Que bueno. And I'm taking a break. Kia Sorrento.